Welcome to Movies We Love. Today we will look at a sci-fi thriller entitled Blade Runner. The movie begins in an alternate reality. The year is 2019. The place, Los Angeles. Synthetic humans are now a reality. They are known as replicants. They are stronger and more agile than ordinary humans. They are also now illegal on the planet Earth. A special police team, known as Blade Runners, are responsible for the elimination of any rogue replicants. At the Tyrell Corporation, a Blade Runner, named Holden, is interviewing a new employee using a special device called a VK analyzer. The machine is designed to detect any physical responses that expose the subject emotionally, thus revealing that person to actually be a replicant. After a few questions, the man being tested, Leon, becomes obviously agitated and eventually hostile. Leon suddenly snaps, pulls out a gun, and blasts Holden. We see a future dystopian Los Angeles. It has become heavily industrialized, crowded with people, and rain falls constantly. Apart from ground traffic, there are flying personal vehicles called spinners, soaring through the sky. We see Rick Deckard, a former Blade Runner. He sits down to eat on the street at a Japanese noodle bar. Another man, named Gaff, tells him he's under arrest. Deckard tries to ignore the man. But when he hears that a man called Brian is asking for him, he eventually agrees to come. Gaff flies Deckard by spinner to police headquarters and delivers Deckard to his old boss. Deckard is clearly not happy. Bryant tells Deckard that there are 4 skin jobs loose on the streets, and he needs Deckard to retire them. Skin job is a cop slang term meaning replicant. Deckard suggests giving the job to Holden, but Bryant says they already did that. He can breathe okay, as long as nobody unplugs him, says Bryant. Deckard is not interested and tries to leave, but Bryant successfully pressures him into accepting with a veiled threat. They watch footage of Leon's VK test, as Brian explains that 6 Nexus 6 replicants murdered 23 people on an off-world colony, and then stole a shuttle to Earth. 2 of them were killed 3 days before. The other 4 have survived and disappeared. Suspecting that they might try to infiltrate the Tyrell Corporation, Holden was tasked with testing their new employees, and nearly died after identifying Leon. Bryant shows Deckard their files. The leader is Roy Batty, the most advanced and intelligent of the group. The others are Zora, a trained off-world assassin, Pris, a pleasure model, and Leon, the replicant who shot Holden. Bryant also tells Deckard that as a fail-safe, the scientists designed the Nexus 6s to have only a 4-year lifespan. Bryant sends Deckard to the Tyrell headquarters to test the VK machine on a Nexus 6 model. But Deckard wonders if their design might make them impossible to detect. While Deckard awaits Dr. Tyrell, he is welcomed by Rachel, a beautiful woman and Tyrell's personal assistant. Dr. Tyrell appears and questions Deckard about the VK test, doubting its ability to distinguish replicants from humans. Tyrell offers Rachel as a test subject, saying he wants to see a negative test result on a human before providing a replicant to be tested. Deckard sets up the VK machine and proceeds with the standard questions. Deckard asks Rachel over 100 test questions before the VK machine finally alerts him that she is a replicant. Tyrell asks Rachel to leave. Deckard is surprised, because it usually takes 20 to 30 questions to identify a normal replicant. Tyrell reveals that Rachel is unaware that she is synthetic, although she may be beginning to suspect. Rachel is an experimental replicant, who has been designed with implanted memories. The memories serve as a buffer, which allows replicants to better control their behavior. Deckard proceeds to the personal address that Leon gave in his VK test. In Leon's apartment, he finds a scale in the bathtub, maybe from a fish. He is not aware that Leon is watching him from a short distance. He then finds a stack of photographs in one of the drawers. Not far away, Roy Batty is waiting on the street for Leon to return from his apartment. Leon appears and tells Roy that there were policemen there and he was unable to retrieve his photographs. Roy is perturbed, but takes Leon with him to a shop called iWorld, owned by a Chinese man, named Hannibal Chu, who engineers replicants' eyes for Tyrell. He is confronted, in his Sub-Zero lab, by Roy and Leon. As Roy questions Chu, Leon rips open Chu's thermal coat, to make it easier for Roy to interrogate him. Chu, quickly freezing to death, desperately tells them that they need to talk to Tyrell about increasing their lifespans. Roy suggests that meeting with Tyrell will be difficult, but Chu tells him that a Tyrell employee, J.F. Sebastian, may be able to gain Roy access. Deckard takes Leon's stack of photos home with him. He is surprised by Rachel in the elevator. Deckard, seemingly feeling caught off guard, is quite rude to Rachel, who learned what Tyrell revealed to Deckard about her. She has come to debunk his claims, and shows Deckard a picture of herself with her mother. Deckard insensitively quashes Rachel's insistence that she has an actual past, giving her detailed descriptions of several of her so-called childhood memories. He tells her that these have been taken from other people, especially Tyrell's nieces. She is extremely hurt and starts crying, so Deckard fetches her a drink. But she has left by the time he is back. In another part of Los Angeles, near an old, neglected hotel called the Bradbury, a woman walks into an alley and covers herself with waste paper to keep warm. She dozes for a bit until a man approaches her and startles her awake. The woman is revealed to be Pris, one of the Nexus 6s Deckard is pursuing. The man is J.F. Sebastian, a genetic designer for the Tyrell Corporation and the person Chu told Roy to find. Pris agrees to stay at Sebastian's hotel, where he lives alone and designs lifelike toys and dolls. Pris tells him that she is an orphan, but she has a few friends who may come over. Meanwhile, Deckard has tracked Zora and found that she poses as an exotic dancer, named Miss Salome, at a nightclub. She uses an artificial snake during her performances. After the show, Deckard poses as an irritating union representative and tries to speak with her. Zora sees through Deckard's ruse, beats him violently and is almost at the point of killing him, until she is disturbed by a few other dancers entering the room. She dashes from the club into the overcrowded streets. Deckard searches through the hordes of pedestrians and finally spots Zora. She runs again, but Deckard is able to aim and hit her moving target. Zora crashes through several plate glass windows and falls to the street, dead. Deckard doesn't notice, but Leon is across the street, watching the whole scene. Bryant arrives on the scene and talks to Deckard, congratulating him for finding and retiring Zora. He tells Deckard that there are 4 more replicants to retire. Deckard insists that there are only 3 left. Bryant tells him that Rachel has disappeared, so Deckard now has to retire her as well. Bryant leaves, and Deckard spots Rachel a few moments later across the street. Deckard attempts to catch up with Rachel. Suddenly he's grabbed by Leon. Deckard attempts to fight, but it's useless. Leon is too powerful and beats him severely. When Leon says, "Wake up! Time to die," and is poised to stab his fingers through Deckard's eyes, his forehead explodes. He has been shot by Rachel using Deckard's own pistol. Deckard returns to his apartment and Rachel joins him. Rachel seems to have accepted the truth about herself, and Deckard appears to be much more sympathetic toward her since she saved him from Leon. He gives her a drink and as he cleans himself up, she asks him if he'd hunt her down, should she disappear to the north. He tells her he wouldn't, but someone else surely would. She asks if he knows more about her incept date and her lifespan, but Deckard says that he didn't look at them. Pris makes herself at home, in Sebastian's apartment. She talks to her host about his strange skin condition, Methuselah syndrome, which makes him age quickly. He is only 25, but his wrinkled skin makes him look much older. It is the reason why he can't leave Earth for an off-world colony, but he doesn't mind. Suddenly Roy appears, summoned there by Pris. He sadly shares the news that Zora and Leon are both retired. Roy and Pris reveal to Sebastian that they are both Nexus 6 models and they need his help. Roy gently coerces Sebastian to use his connection to Tyrell to arrange a personal meeting. Sebastian reluctantly agrees. Roy and Sebastian go to Tyrell's pyramid-like home and take an elevator to his penthouse. They are stopped as a security measure, but are allowed to proceed when Sebastian voices 2 moves to Tyrell himself, that win the chess match they'd been playing. The last, winning move, is given to him by Roy. Tyrell is fascinated by the bold move, and invites Sebastian in. In Tyrell's bedchamber, Sebastian introduces Roy. But Tyrell seems to have been expecting Roy for some time. Roy confronts his creator, saying specifically that he wants an extension of his short lifespan, and calls Tyrell father. Tyrell explains that he is unable to do that. Once an artificial being, like Roy, has been completed, it is impossible to make any alterations in its life cycle. Roy proposes several biological interventions to prolong his lifespan, but Tyrell dismisses all of them as ineffective, saying that they have made him almost perfect, though not to last. Roy becomes despondent, but Tyrell comforts him, saying that, "The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long, and you have burned so very, very brightly." Roy, still despondent, first kisses Tyrell, then begins to crush his skull, poking his thumbs through his creator's eyes. Tyrell falls dead, as the horrified Sebastian watches. Roy then goes after Sebastian as well. Deckard drives to Sebastian's apartment. He enters and searches for evidence or leads. As Deckard searches the cluttered mess of puppets and mannequins, he is surprised by a disguised Pris, who assaults him using acrobatics. As she performs a series of backflips to finish Deckard off, he shoots her through the abdomen. She spasms violently for a few moments before Deckard shoots her twice more and finally kills her. Deckard hears Roy arrive, and takes up position in a nearby room. Roy comes in and finds Pris dead. He weeps and kisses her lifeless lips. He enters the next room. Deckard shoots at him but misses. Roy chides him saying, he's not being very sporting to fire on an unarmed opponent. A game of cat and mouse starts, with Roy stalking Deckard throughout the apartment. At one point, with Roy's incredible strength, he smashes his hand through a wall and seizes Deckard's pistol. He then deliberately breaks two of Deckard's fingers, in retaliation for Zora and Pris. He gives him the gun back and releases his hand, but Deckard finds it impossible to shoot straight with two broken fingers. Roy gives Deckard a few seconds head start and Deckard flees for his life. He can hear Roy counting the seconds. Deckard knows he's in trouble. Roy is a killing machine. Deckard keeps moving, but is in great pain and drops his gun. Deckard escapes to an upper floor in the building. Roy easily catches up to him. Deckard seizes an opportunity to beat Roy with a large pipe, but he cannot incapacitate Roy, whose superhuman strength is too much for Deckard. Deckard eventually escapes onto a window ledge and climbs to the roof. Roy watches and laughs as he struggles. Roy appears moments later. Deckard tries to escape by jumping to another roof across the street, but barely makes it to the ledge. He nearly plummets, hanging on by one hand. Roy, holding a white dove he found on the roof, makes the jump quite easily and peers over the ledge at Deckard, saying quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is, to be a slave. Deckard slips, and Roy catches his arm with one hand, pulling him up to safety. Roy sits down near him, and tells Deckard that he's seen more in his short life than most humans would see in a full lifetime. Roy is saddened by the idea that all the memories he's acquired will be lost. Like tears in the rain. Then, echoing the last thing Leon said, Roy says, "Time to die." As he finally dies, the dove in his hand flies off. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more movies like this, hit the like and subscribe button to be notified when I upload a new video. Leave a comment below. Tell me which movies you would like me to recap in the future.